normal, even perhaps just a government school, from 9 to 3. They're thinking very narrowly. Instead, they should be thinking that education is really something that happens almost in every waking moment. It happens in the home. It happens by just being aware and alert, interacting with your surroundings, whether it's in the classroom or someplace else. You find that in countries where markets are relatively free, you have a multiplicity of ways in which, and vehicles in which people are educated. You have a thriving marketplace in Romania, as we do in the United States, in, say, magazines, in books, now internet access. These are all ways in which we learn, and they don't necessarily happen simply within four walls in a government-provided or even a privately provided classroom. So if you think in those terms, all of a sudden the world looks a lot bigger. The prospects for educational improvement can embrace more methods, tools, vehicles, times of day. This is a way of thinking of education in a much more flexible fashion than many people do. Many people are so focused on just the formal classroom. They should be thinking about all the ways in which students learn. There is, in the United States now, so how many of you have heard, in fact, of the Khan Academy? It's spelled K-H-A-N. You've heard of it? Have you utilized any of the resources?
Yeah, it's an extraordinary open source model.
Yes.
I think it's inspiring. Will we have questions and answers later on? Because
yes.
I'm curious about something.
Yes, yes. Okay. I do, we will allow for plenty of time for questions. Well, the Khan Academy, I encourage you to take a look at this. This is a remarkable new model, as you point out, for education. It's now getting a lot of attention in the United States. And it has a presence on the web. In fact, that is its presence. It doesn't have a building. It doesn't have a classroom. It consists right now of a website with almost 2,500 courses that involve video, all kinds of other tools, free of charge for anybody in the world. You can go on there and take a course in everything from second grade arithmetic to high school mathematics to college physics. And what the Khan Academy model does is it completely flips education. This is exciting because it's a tribute to diversity and competition. You know, so many people have thought that education means you go to a classroom and during the day you hear lectures. And then at home, that's where you're an autodidact, where you learn yourself by doing homework. The Khan Academy completely flips that. The classroom is a place where the teachers act as tutors, not lecturers. The lectures are in video form that the students look at home. Then when they come to the classroom, they can take exams, they do further work, and the teacher can bring up on a computer in real time various means of assessing what the students are learning at that moment. And a teacher can see, Judy over in this seat needs a little help in some fractions, so she can go over and help the students. The teacher acts as a tutor. But much of the learning actually happens in the lecture material by video and other interactive web-based components with the students using these resources at home. The remarkable thing about it is that it's supported by contributions, by charitable gifts. Bill Gates of Microsoft recently gave them a very substantial gift. And now 2,500 courses are available in a wide variety of subjects, free of charge for anybody, anywhere. And another thing about the Khan Academy is that it tends to instill in a student a lust for learning. The students find the delivery of education motivational, exciting. The videos are done in a way that really stokes the students' interest. They want to learn more. And that is probably the greatest gift that a teacher or a system can give a student, the desire to learn. Because in the long run, we learn more of those things that we want to learn and apply ourselves to than what the teacher just sort of dumps into our head. against our will. So the purpose of any educational system ought to be to instill in students a desire to learn, because in the long run, a student will learn more from their own efforts than from what someone else dumps into their brain. And the Khan Academy achieves that, which dramatizes what I'm saying here, that education doesn't have to happen just in the traditional classroom sense. And markets tend to provide a multiplicity of such media, and it's only getting bigger. The second point I made was that the children are more important than the system. What we need in schooling is learning centers, not employment centers. And I don't know the Romanian system anywhere nearly as well as I know the American system, but I can tell you that in our system, there is way too much focus on making schools serve those who work in the schools rather than the customers that they're supposed to serve. Do you have that problem here?
More than.
More than us. It's a serious problem in America. The focus is on the system as if the system is more important than the children. This came home to me very vividly about 20 years ago. I was living in Michigan, and there was a family who had a third grade student who was gifted, a gifted student. The local public or government school where they were assigned to send the child did not have a program to deal with gifted students. But it so happened that about 15 miles away, in another public system, they did have a gifted program. But it was outside the geographic district that the parents lived in. And in our system, certainly at that time, less so today, you were assigned to the school within the district that you lived. Well, these parents, in an effort to help their child, who was not doing well in the system that didn't cater to his needs, they began sending their child to the gifted program in the other public school. But they were not high-income people. They had the public school in the other district charged them about $1,500 to send the child there. Okay, even though they were already paying taxes for their system back in their own district. Then the parents went to a school board meeting in their district and asked the school board, would you please release the funding that we pay in taxes and that the government provides? Will you release the funding so that it can follow our child to this other school? Now, you would think that the school board would say, well, of course, if he's not here, we don't need it, right? And in fact, because the child was enrolled in the other school, they weren't going to get any state aid at all. So it wouldn't be any problem, you'd think, for that school board to say, oh, sure, it just means money goes there instead of here. It's not coming here anyway because your child is going there. I went to that meeting where the parents made their case. Can you help us? We have to pay the tuition to the government school. Will you release the government funding? And I heard a school board member say this to the child and to the parents. He said right at the meeting, you live here, you go to school here. Think of it. Here are parents who want to help their child. They're doing what's best for the child, and the system tells them, sorry, we're more important than you are. At one point, the school board said, well, but what about transportation? There's no funding for that. You're going to have to pay to take the child every day. And they responded and said, well, we've been doing it for 3 months now. It's not an issue. The husband works near where the school is. This is not a problem. They were looking for all the reasons to tell the child, we're more important than you are. You stay right here. That's simply wrong. And that's the evidence of this mentality that the system is more important than the child. One other point on this. In America, in some states, we have problems with the organized labor unions of teachers. And some years ago in Michigan, I remember the teachers union coming out with a statement in which they said, we will oppose any school district that wants to contract with any private company for the provision of any school support service, like food service. You know, if a school district wanted to contract with a private food company to provide lunch for the kids, the union said, no, we'll oppose that. You have to do it with government employees, because the teachers union also represented those people too. So they were thinking of themselves. Well, at my little think tank at that time in Michigan, we got to thinking, well, what can we do to show the public that this is very self-serving, this is designed to, to benefit the system and the union, not the children. Why should any school district have to pay more to clean the floor or serve the food to the children than they have to? Why can't they enjoy some savings by shopping in the marketplace for these things and put the savings to work in the classroom for the children? What's wrong with that? But one thing we did that really changed the law in Michigan, got a lot of public attention, was this. We were seated around a table, my staff and I, very similar to this room, and debating this issue, and one of my staff members said, what about the teachers union itself? They have a headquarters in East Lansing, Michigan, 600 employees at the union headquarters. Do they provide all of their own food service and custodial work? And what if they contract with private companies? Let's find out if they do. So I sent one of my employees down to East Lansing, and he sat in the parking lot across the street from the union. And he watched the businesses coming and going. And then we called these businesses to verify this and issued a news release to the public, pointing out that at their own headquarters, the very same teachers union that opposes any school district securing these services privately, they were doing it at their own headquarters for all of their food service, their custodial service, their security, their mailing, on down the line, and the 3 out of 4 companies they were contracting with were non-union. So what does that say? When it came to their own bottom line, the teachers union saw the value of competition and shopping around and saving money, but they did not want any school district to do the same. Well, a third principle I mentioned is that parents are the key ingredient. And here I think in every country there's more that we can do. That parents can do a better job, and they tend to do a better job when you give them opportunities, when they can make a choice, when they feel they can make a difference. There have been many studies, hundreds of them, in the United States and elsewhere, about what relates to student outcomes, student performance, student test results, positively. What can you do here that causes that to go up most directly? Some people say, well, it's money. We just need to throw more money at the schools. Well, we've done that. And it seems in many of our inner cities in America, the more money we spend, the lower the performance. In fact, 3 years ago in Detroit, Michigan, in the inner cities, a new set of test scores came out, and they were so bad that the school superintendent said publicly to the local newspapers, the Detroit student test scores now are so bad, they are no better than if the students had simply guessed at the answers. Now think about that. What does that say? That means if they had never shown up in school at all, if they just guessed at the answers with no schooling whatever. Well, what are we spending $16,000